What's up guys, my name's Dychronic, you're here on this Destiny 2 video, and today we're going to be talking about the top 5 weapons in the Crucible right now. Now there's a lot of changes, nerfs, buffs, exotic changes with the Warmind update, and a lot of different weapons have been used a lot more than they used to be, especially number 1 or number 2. And in this video I'm going to outline exactly what weapons they are and why they dominate. This list is mostly made out of the research I found on different database websites, as well as the opinion of other YouTubers I've asked, as well as just looking all over the internet and see what people are using the most in different montages, as well as different Crucible highlights. Anyways, I'm not going to drone on asking you and begging you to like the video. I'm just going to show you pictures of puppies and hope you do the right thing. Anyways, without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Coming in at number 5 in the top 5 weapons in the Crucible is going to be the Better Devil's Legendary Hand Cannon. Now, this weapon has been dominating since the beta. This explosive hand cannon at 140 rounds per minute, which is one of my favorite, with a recoil direction of 88, as well as the fact that it also has flared magwell, is incredible to use at anywhere from close to mid-range. And because it's explosive rounds, that means there's no damage fall off on the explosive part of its shot. This weapon has been dominating since the beginning, the dawn of Destiny 2, and it shall dominate forever. It's also literally the #1 PvE king, so if you wanted to use it in PvE, it is a dominating weapon. Especially with the new advent of the new ornament for the chest, and you have to get headshots with hand cannons. A lot of people have been leaning towards hand cannons lately, and a lot of them have been using Better Devils. Coming up at number 4 is going to be the Last Hope Legendary Sidearm. Again, one of those weapons from the beginning of the game were kind of dominating. It's been going up and down, fluctuating, because with the new updates, the new nerfs, the new changes to all the things, as well as the fact that Uriel's was kind of dominating for a while, kind of put it in its place. This weapon has a 93 recoil direction. That's one of my favorite things about it. It can be used at close range engagements. It has things like Zen movement, as well as ricochet rounds, which make them, again, very stable, very nice at a round close to close mid-range engagements. The best way to use this weapon is if an enemy is within 5 to 10 meters of you, this weapon can just dominate them, as well as the fact that if you're jumping through the air, it can also have some nice mid-air accuracy, especially if Zen movement is procting and you're getting some accuracy buffs. What most people do with hunters, max mobility, stompy, double jump, they jump straight up in the air when they're near an enemy, when they're inside or somewhere with some nice cover, and they can just basically rain hell on them from above. It distracts and disorients enemies so much. You have no idea how annoying it is to just see an enemy in front of you and watch as he literally disappears straight above you. It is insane how fast these hunters can jump, and this weapon is dominating in those engagements. Honestly, you got to pair this weapon up with a mid-range weapon so you can kind of counterbalance those enemies at mid-range. Speaking of mid-range, coming up at number 3 to my chagrin is the Vigilance Wing Exotic Pulse Rifle. Now that's one of those 5-burst pulse rifles that have been dominating the Crucible since the update before the Warmind. This weapon has been an absolute destroyer in the Crucible. Now what makes this weapon so very nice is the fact that it has so much damage. That's all there really needs to be, but also the fact that it can also 2-burst people. If you hit all the shots in the head with 2 full bursts, you can 2-shot them, but for the most part you're going to find that you need 3 shots, or more likely 2.5 shots to kill an enemy. It's very dominating at close range because of the fact that it has 5-burst shots and it's easy to use with a lot of shots on it. It has perks like Harsh Truths that makes it so whenever an ally dies near you, you get health regeneration. So if somebody gets like rocketed near you with like a giant explosion, you'll take most of the damage and then you'll regen like immediately. An enemy will come around seeing that you took damage, and then all of a sudden you won't have taken damage because you recovered it already. And on top of that, also Last Stand, another perk, improved weapon performance and greatly increased recovery when its wielder is the last member of a fire team, making it very ideal for things like trials and competitive when there's a kind of last man standing ability and no response. And then finally, it does have a catalyst, so this weapon can get even better than it is. Overall, this weapon does suffer a little bit at the close range against hand cannons and some machine guns, and it does suffer at the long range against some of the scout rifles or the weapons with no damage fall off. Graviton Lance. So prepare your weapons accordingly. Either you can use a close range weapon with this, or you can use the long range weapon with this. You just got to pick which engagement you feel the most comfortable with, or the one you want to combat the most. Coming in at number 2 in this top 5 weapons is going to be the Anti-OPD Legendary Submachine Gun. Now this is one of those weapons people have been wanting for such a long time because it has been out since the game came out, and the only way to get it is from the gunsmith. Start spending your weapon materials on the gunsmith to have a chance at getting this weapon to drop. A helpful tip, if you also find a Mononon while trying to get this weapon, make sure you save that as well, because Mononons are PvE kings, which are also the only way to get them is from the gunsmith. Now what makes this weapon so very nice is firstly it's got a recoil direction of 90, which means it's very close to being straight up and down, very nice to use. Its range is some of the highest of any SMG, and on top of that it has things like ricochet rounds, making it so it's very controllable, very nice range on it. And then finally, the best part, it has kill clip, making it so it can be used at auto rifle distances and compete against auto rifles and still do SMG damage against auto rifle distance. And obviously you have to get a kill, but you know, getting a kill with an SMG and then moving on to the next enemy is not hard, because oftentimes when you kill an enemy, there's almost always an enemy nearby. This weapon is very ideal for flanking, using it in scenarios where you're trying to get up and close and personal with some enemies. I would personally say this weapon has a better time to kill than things like hand cannons. However, with hand cannons, like better doubles, you can shoot them in the head and disorient them with explosives. So alternatively, there is a knockoff version called the Atalanta D. You can get it from pretty much any legendary engram, which has pulled the trigger. It's not as far range, it's not as easy to control. It's overall just kind of a knockoff. It's not as good, not comparable very much, but if you don't have an Antiope, use the Atlanta if you like submachine guns. And then finally, coming in at number 1 on the top guns in the Crucible, you guys know what it is. It's the Graviton Lance exotic pulse rifle. Now, if you've never heard of this weapon, you probably haven't played Crucible since Warmind came out, most likely. Now, this weapon not only has 100 stability, is a 2-burst pulse rifle. Now what makes this weapon so very amazing is that second shot, firstly, has no damage fall off, so it does 40 damage body shots and 59 damage headshots no matter what, and does incredible amounts of damage. 59 damage headshots! That first shot I think does like 10 damage, so just ignore that first shot, it's not important. But if you get 3 bursts all in the head, you can 3 burst shot anybody in the game. If you hit them mostly in the body and some of it in the head, you're gonna make them very weak, to the point where pretty much any weapon could one-shot them. If you're working with your team a lot, you're gonna have very crispy, like 1.5 to 2 burst shots on most enemies. And because there's no damage fall off on that second shot, the most important shot, you can use this at scout rifle ranges. And then finally, if that weren't enough, when you get a kill with this weapon, it causes the enemy to explode and release void projectiles that will seek out nearby opponents. This thing is insane! I can't tell you how many times I've seen 2 people lit them both up. One of them lost their shield, the other one died. I went to cover, and then the other one died trying to look for me because I went for cover, and then get exploded by his teammate. And then finally, this weapon also has a catalyst, so go out there, find the catalyst, and make this thing a masterwork. Now before I go, I wanted to mention something very important about this list of weapons. There's no broken weapons on this list. Now many people think the Graviton and the Vigilance are broken. Personally, I believe them to be somewhat of a crutch because they are powerful, but I don't think that they're broken because there's so many instances that they can be beaten with the different sides of the meta. Now if you consider it, Graviton Lance is more of a mid to long range, Vigilance Wing is more of a mid-range engagement. Both of them can be beaten out at pretty much every range. They can be beaten out by SMGs and hand cannons at close range. They can be beaten out by other pulse rifles at mid-range, or assault rifles, or even some of the SMGs and hand cannons. They can beat each other at mid-range. Scout rifles can definitely beat out both of these at long range. The only broken part I would say about the meta is that not enough of the other legendary weapons have enough to compete with them. So a lot of the other legendary pulse rifles like the Time Worn Spire, the Darkest Before, the Autumn Wind, these fast fire rate pulse rifles that we're dominating are getting shit on in the Crucible by both of these weapons. Or other things like, for example, the Uriel's Gift in mid-range are kind of getting dominated by the just absolute pure power that the Vigilance Wing offers. So overall, I would like to say they can still be beat out. There's no dominating universal gun that will dominate at all ranges, so the meta is not broken right now, but these all are weapons that are better than a lot of their other counterparts, or at the very least, best in class. Anyways, that's the video for you guys today. I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, make sure you leave a like down below. It really helps the channel out. You guys have been showing some incredible support of these last few videos. I really appreciate it. And again, if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. I really do try to check out every question that I get on YouTube. I try to answer pretty much all of them. I don't do them every day, but probably every other day. So please leave me a comment if you have a question, or if you just want to say hi, or thanks for the video. It makes my day when I say, hey, I like the video. I appreciate you making that video. And some of those comments just kind of light up my heart, next to all those comments being like, kill yourself. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed. My name has been Dychronic, and I'll see you guys on the next one.